Hello, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be looking at the CHECKMATE 1500 Mini, and there's nothing mini about this case. It's huge. So let's have a flip over. Right, so I mean, you can see my hand for scale here. It's a monster. So they give you a nice printed binder with loads of info in it. I have two spare front plates, and this case is huge and it weighs a ton. So let's get the Amiga set up and let's get the motherboard in there. Right, so I've got the case out and I've got it apart, and it's very well built. It's solid. It's all made out of powder coated steel that's really quite thick. So there's really no flex in it anywhere, so that's pretty good. Yeah, now this back plate is wrong. Now they've sent me the correct one out, so I'm gonna have to replace that. You get a bag of fixings, but yeah, it does look the part. As you can see on the front here, you can see it's got like a regular floppy bay. You can change these out. Nice. Also in the side here, there's a power board for a regular ATX power supply. So what's going in here is a really cheap one. That's all it's going to need for an Amiga. So yeah, here we go. Right, so here's the front of the case. As you can see, it looks the part. Got a nice power button over here, a couple of indicator lights. Yeah, it does look the part. Now, the blanking panels I bought are to replace these, because I want different things to go in there. I'm not really interested in using a proper Amiga floppy, because they're, well, they were flaky back in the day, so, yeah. What we need to do now is get the back plate off, get that changed out for an Amiga one, and find out what posts need installing to fit the motherboard. Yeah. Here we go. Right, so this is super easy to do. It looks like there's just two screws on each side to hold the back plate in. So I'm just going to take these out. Hopefully not lose them. Here we go. That's one side. Ah, no, they're actually bolted underneath as well. So let's flip this over. Take this side out. Just nice and simple. There we go. And they're there. That's all good. Okay. Yeah, drop one plate. Anyway, so there's three more underneath. So we're just going to take these out. I'm very impressed with the quality of the case. I've always wanted a big box Amiga, so here we go. And that back plate comes out like that. So this is the replacement. Now refitting should be a simple matter of the same thing. As you can see, there's metal posts that are tapped, ready to accept the right screw back into them. So the difficulty is in holding it and getting it back together. Well, yeah, excellent. And I just knew that would happen. Okay, let's try this from a different tack. It is very difficult to hold and put back together. Right. Okay. Now, because there's float on the screws, you really don't want to nail anything right down until it's kind of all, you've got the screws in, but allow them to float a little bit is what I'm trying to say. There we go. And that's one side. There we go. So yeah, I'm just going to let them flop around as they do. Get another case piece out of the way. Right, underneath, we'll put these in. These are going to be the more important ones, because if you nail up the sides, and when you try and do the bottom ones up, it might deform it. And this is the last one in here. Okay, so it doesn't like that. Well, that was unexpected. This back plate doesn't have a post there, or a hole even. So, okay, well, that's not optimal. Right, so now let's screw up the bottom ones. Nice. You can feel the whole thing stiffen up when you tighten these up. There we go. And this side. And there we go. So you change out the back plate. Right, so I'm just going to get the Amiga motherboard over and offer it up. So I'll be back. Right, so yes, I've got some standoffs in, and it looks like only 3 match up to the Amiga 1200 motherboard. It looks like the distance from the bottom of the motherboard to the bottom of the case is 9mm, as you can see on the vernier. What I'm not happy about is, once it's nailed in here, the only other mounting point is these 2 holes for the 9-pin at the back. All the rest of these, I don't know if you can see this, are just square cutouts, and therefore they don't actually the pins that are inside the back of the motherboard there just go straight through the square cutouts, except at this position here. So what you end up with is a motherboard that is literally fixed down on 2 sides. I'm not happy about that, because there's posts here that are half height, so they're about 5mm tall, and you've got an awful lot of flex this side for the motherboard just to go wandering the fuck off wherever it pleases. So yeah, that's a bit disappointing. I was hoping that, you know, you'd have some kind of spacer or something like that. So I'm now going to have to knock something up and 3D print it to make sure that the motherboard can't flap around this side. So yeah, it continues. Right, so the board's in. Yeah, it's fixed here, here and here. It will be fixed here as well, but over here, as you can see, it's got some flex to it. Not happy about that in the slightest. If you can see this, I don't like that. Don't like that at all. Right, so this is the power connector. This plugs in from the outside, then this plug plugs onto it. Okay, no problem, but it means the back of this is all exposed. So I'm going to have to come up with a 3D print or something. Again, it's a good idea, but you know, you'd expect better at this price point. So that plugs in the back here like this, into the part of the motherboard that's flapping around everywhere. Plug that in. Yeah. So that's where the power's passed through to. Superb. These front ports, so these are easy enough to sort out. The only real downside here is they're using like a, I don't know if this is focusing, a self-tapper on plastic. So one, don't monkey fist it, and two, you're only going to get a few attempts before it's knackered anyway. So let's plug that in there. Okay, so those two ports are in. So what I've got here is I'm going to be adding Gotek, which is necessary nowadays, and this is the reason why I wanted the other square plate. So from China I got this, and you can't see in the packet very well. Now what this allows me to do is plug in two SSDs, hot swappable. How about that? So this is the idea to why I reprogrammed the Pi to boot from USB first, because this has got a SATA. We're going to go SATA to USB, bang. We can change it out from the front without having to go inside and go near the pistorm. How about that? Now, that brings us to the pistorm. While all this fits in nice and well, pistorm can go in here, no problem. However, this post here is in direct contact with the USB. So if we plug this in, you see what I mean, you can hear it there, and that means that it's on a very slight incline, maybe 1 or 2 millimeters. Yeah, not optimal, but it is what it is. So yeah, I'm going to get these other bits added and then go from there. Okay, so I'm having some issues with this build. The Gotek is mounted fine, there's no issue there, that's all as you'd expect. However, the 3.5-inch drive adapter doesn't have underneath fixings, so I'm going to have to get a mounting bracket for the side so I can mount to the bottom. That's no real big deal, I'll just 3D print something. The big problem is the power supply. Now, the power supply doesn't fucking fit. So, on the when you order the power adapter, you can order an ATX power supply adapter. Yeah. However, you can't use a fucking ATX power supply because it is far too big. So, This is my super cheapy 15 quid Amazon, well, good enough for an Amiga power supply. See the problem? So the board itself, despite being big enough to fucking bury yourself in it, doesn't take an ATX power supply. So yeah, that's a bit of a fucking showstopper. So yeah, it's looking like I'm going to have to get some more bits for this, just in order to carry on. At the same time, I think I'll correct some of the, you know, the dodgy design decisions over here, I think, because I don't like the way this flaps around at all. Especially, yeah, no, I don't. I just don't like it. So I'll make a PCB clamp that can clamp to the floor. I'm not overly happy about that either. And, yeah, I'm not overly happy all round with it, to be honest with you. Some of it's obviously not the CHECKMATE's fault. But on the website, it doesn't make any mention of having to buy a non-standard power supply. So, yeah. So, I'm going to pack all this up until I calm down and I look at it a second time. Yeah, it's been a disaster from start to finish, this board. This build. Right, so, the saga with this fucker continues. So, we've got no support over this side. So I've designed a small spacer, for want of a better term. So the bottom of it is the 9mm that it's supposed to be for the height of these posts, and it just sits over the side there like that. No problem. So I've put two of them in, one where the modulator was and one here. Now I know for most people they'll have a modulator here, but here there's no support. So yeah, and there is a post under there. So it's, yeah, very, very poor. There's something like this. Jesus, even if they 3D printed them, for what they're charging for these fuckers, yeah, that should be put in there. That brings me to the next point. So there's some manufacturing stuff going on. As I said earlier, I'm already missing a post off one side, and this is on a replacement backplate they sent me. They usually sell the backplate alone for 29 quid. I mean, Jesus. You know, this is not right. Now, if we look here, even with a spacer in, this is where it's sitting. Okay, so you can see the holes. That's not right at all. So let's take our spacer. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pop it on the board and make sure that we're the right distance away from the back. And there you go. You are a good 2mm out. I mean, for fuck's sake. Realistically, it's not going to make a massive amount of difference because you've got 3 screws in it and you've got a couple of spacers there. But yeah, I mean, if I pull that forward now, I can lock this in position, and I recommend doing that just for the board stability. So popping in the original whatever you call them, threaded nut inserts or threaded hex inserts, whatever the bloody name is for them. I mean, that will actually do a lot for its stability. But yeah, so manufacturing is not very tight tolerances on it at all. Yeah, again, fairly poor. So yeah, if we now put our spacer inside, well, it's flapping around everywhere. It's just, yeah, not good at all. And that brings us to the next bit. Now I'm happy with how this is mounted now. There's a little bit of space here, but what I might do is just design another spacer and have it attached to this spare post here, so then that will lock it down even more. Over here where I've got my spacers, that doesn't move at all now, so that's very good. Yeah, so due to the power supply debacle, I've got another one on order, but I did have to remove this to take the board out. Holy shit. Holy shit. Once you plug it in, I don't know how well this will come out on camera, But once you plug it in, it goes through here. So that plugs in and that pushes down. That actually sits quite flush. So you can imagine what I'm going to say now. Getting the fucker out again is a pain in the arse because you've got to lever it out. But anyway, that's in. That's ready to rock and roll. Even if the back is exposed. Right, so then we've got the drive plate. Holy shit. So, first of all, right, because I bought two 3.5-inch blanking plates for the front to fit what everyone uses nowadays, a Gotek, I mounted it to this, whopped it in, and guess what? It didn't fit. Now that's because they're trying to do everything with this case and they're making compromises everywhere. Even the glossy brochure thing, it just doesn't give you a lot of information. It looks pretty, but it doesn't give you a lot of useful information. A useful bit of information is you have to stand this fucker up to get it through the front properly. It doesn't tell you how much by. It doesn't even give you a spacer to do it. Shocking. It's just really, really infuriating. When you build a computer, it should be a nice experience. It shouldn't piss you off. So, some other kind soul had the problem that I'm having now. And they come up with this. So, I printed this. And this has got the requisite space to fit your Gotek onto the drive. It shouldn't have needed to be done like that. Yeah, that's just a hassle that no one actually needed. Yeah, so anyway, I printed these in ABS, the same as the spacers, because I had some spare powder blue ABS gigging around. But yeah, so now this will fit. And as a side effect, whoever designed this had the forefront or the forethought to put it in the side, so I can now mount this as well. So superb. So these will both get mounted, and yeah, happy days. And then we can get the power supply in when that turns up. So yeah, back to it in a bit. Right, so yeah, the fun and games with this build continues. Managed to get hold of one of these white elephant power supplies. These are truly, yeah. It's a ridiculous size. But what's worse is, it fits in here like this and mounts. Okay, no problem. But the power supply doesn't reach the power supply point. Can you believe that? I surely can. Everything else with this build has not been right, so another questionable design decision. I mean, why put a... I mean, if you buy this power board, it's cost you £49 just for this circuit board here. What kind of absolute numbskull stuck it right where it's opposite the power supply? I mean, it's just another one of a list of poor design decisions. I've not had a good experience this build at all. It's really wound me up. Nothing's been very nice about it. The only good thing I've got to say about this case is that the steel is of an adequate thickness. That's it. I don't recommend it to anyone. It's terrible. If you must buy an A1200 case, go on A1200.net, get a nice Asahi case or a Repro plastic case. But these are crap. It's just got so many things that are not right. I've had 2 posts strip out on me during this build. The fixings are low quality. It says in that manual that, oh yeah, because it's powder coated, that, you know, you might have trouble and you might have to tweak the fixings. It's like, oh, what? You know, at this price point, you shouldn't have any of this. It shouldn't. You shouldn't. luckily for me, this is actually going to go to someone else. So if this had been my money, I would be absolutely just, well, I'd be really super pissed. It's, yeah. I mean, obviously people have got these and they like them, but I don't. I think it's a truly diabolical case. And you're getting reamed price-wise just for the fact that it says Amiga. I mean, Jesus. So, I'm not going to film the rest of this build. I'm that pissed off of it. There is some other bits coming, like an extender now. It's going to get knocked up. It's going to be given to the guy, and yeah, I'm just not even going to bother filming the rest of it. That's how pissed off I am with it. Alright, so here we are. It's been 2 weeks later. I've finally got this extension cable, and I've calmed down a little bit because this really did piss me off. So what I thought I'd do is I'd hook it up and yeah, we'll give it a go. That's only really the piece I was waiting for. So yeah, we should have power. Now we've got the right size power supply, and we can actually reach the power connector. I've got everything else nailed down, so I've got some USBs in here. They're connected to the USB keyboard adapter, and I've also got it connected via a double USB adapter to the Raspberry Pi. And the reason for that is when you're running Musashi, you can use a keyboard and mouse through that. So I've got 4 ports on the back here. Yeah, so it's taken far longer than I'd have hoped, and the whole thing was, yeah, a pain in the arse. But let's get it powered up and yeah, give it a go. Right, so here we are. It's all hooked up. Yeah, if I turn it on, so we get to a ROM screen, and yeah, just like in the pistrom32 video, it then takes a little while. It then boots from the SD card straight into desktop. Okay, so it's running EMU68 on an SD card. I had this HDD to try and boot from that as USB, and that is the preference. So I've hooked all that up, and it doesn't work at all. So yeah, I'm finding a lot of problems with this. But let's abstract this away. Firstly, you've got the case. I think I've made it quite clear how pissed off I am with that. Since I've put the power cable in, it's doing what it's meant to do. You know, there's not much more to say about that. It looks nice from the front. I'm not happy about the build quality, as I've said. I'm not happy about a lot of things, but there you go. That bit's working. The pistorm is creating a few issues. Yeah, unexpectedly. With the HDD, I was expecting to boot from the USB, you know, just with some handy old SDDs I had flying around. You know, these, you know, 64 gig. I've had them a few years, Kingston jobs. I thought, yeah, I could just retask them. No, it won't boot from them. And that's even with auxiliary power plugged in as well. Not that means a lot with that fucking power supply. But it's just not happening. Not only that, I'm having trouble bypassing the boot to the pistorm. So I did replace that small cable that connected the mouse that was broken earlier, and that's clearly working properly. I crimped a new cable, and as you can see, cable's working. Yeah, so apparently you can disable pistorm at boot, and you can do that by simply holding down the reset keys. So let's try that. So I'm holding them down. We're on boot up. Okay, now because I've got it set to boot from USB as a priority, there's a bit of a timeout. So we'll just wait a few seconds. And the Pi's got an activity going. It's resetting the MIGI, and it's then said, right, stick that right up your ass as it's booting. Now, I don't know if that's a function of using the encoder chip from the keyboard, or yeah, okay. So that was Control Windows key. All right, I'll try that again now. Control Alt. Try that one. Admittedly, I know very little about Pistorm except how to fuck it up. So here we go. So I've still got the keys held down. The Pi lights come on, the green light. So now we've got activity and reset. So this throws like a major hurdle into this, that having the Pistorm means that some stuff won't run properly, and you really need to disable it. And the person that's going to end up with this is going to need to disable it. So yeah, that's not good. I've tried booting from the HDDs, and I've tried 10 different ways until Sunday, and they've all just said no, not happening. So the problem with this is, because of the reset loop and not being able to take it out of Pistorm mode, you can't just boot into regular flash floppy off the floppy disk, or the Gotek in this case. So that's going to be an issue. Take this as well. This is coming out. It's got to. It's not actually doing anything. I think there's going to have to be a new plate put in there with a USB and a micro SD card on it. So at the very least, you've got access to the Pi from the front. So I don't like using SD card extenders. I think you're asking for corruption, but that's not my call. So that is what's going to happen there. And that way you'll be able to disable the Pistorm and then use it as a stock 1200 and just boot off flash floppy. Yeah, so while we've got this open, let's have a quick look at the Pistorm. So I've got the Pistorm on the Amiga 500. I got that a long time ago, and I had a lot of grief with it, as in a lot of stuff didn't work. But I went in here earlier, and I'm having to move the mouse ball with my fingers, so bear with me. Right, I picked a demo, and it was this one. Didn't expect a lot, really just didn't. But as you can see, that's running. Now, there's a very strange bit of corruption on the start screen, but the rest of the demo seems to run alright. Look at this, look. A bit of a blitting error there or something, it's, yeah. There we go. Now, my frame rate's likely to be set differently to the 50 Hz I've got it on the screen, so you might see a bit of jittering on the video. It's not there in real life. It is super butter smooth. So yeah, this one I played through, and yeah, it, you know, worked alright, which really surprised me because the pistorm used to just fall over at the mention of a demo. Yeah, let's pick another one at random. One that I haven't tried. I have no idea what we've got here. Sound engines, God knows. Sound revolutions. Stag. Let's try subliminal vision, whatever that is. I have no idea. Could fall over, might not. Never even tried it before. Yeah! Base are back! Oh, come off it. Let's go. Oh. Let's see something. Right, I've had enough of that. Well, clearly that didn't fall over. Let's have a look here. What else have we got? It's under H. A lot of these I hadn't even heard of, so God no. Hardwired, what's that? No, how about this one? Hallucinations and Dreams. The Union. Bloody hell. And there we go. That's fucked. Right, so we won't be trying that one. Hardcore. That kind of exception error, that's what I was expecting from other things. The pistorm used to do that a lot on the A500 I've got. Nice. Come on. Waiting for it to do something. I mean, all in all, I think the pistorm is an amazing bit of kit. But I can see me changing it before I give this back. This is not right. There we go. There we go, that's running. So, let's turn that down a little bit. Right, so after a couple of weeks and calmed down a little bit, yeah, I've not got many positive things to say about this case. The price is 3 times what it should be, and at least. And even then, you know, I'll be questioning it. It's, yeah, it does look alright, really does from the front. Yeah, once everything's in there, but now I've got the utter ball ache of getting in here and changing that out now, and that's painful. With this case, it is painful. Cheap shit fixings, and it's, yeah, not looking forward to that. But yeah, I'm going to change it out to USB and a micro SD front. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. Whether it depends what he wants to do. Maybe 3D print one if one doesn't exist, or it'll be a ship one over from China or whatever. But the rest of it's in there. The spacers have done a really good job on the board of keeping it stable. Yeah. So I think I'll change the pistorm as well, so that I'll change the boot order back so that it boots from SD card first, because if they're both on the front, then you can just pull it, and that'll also give you functionality back. So yeah, all in all, it's been an absolutely infuriating project. It really has. There's no two ways to put that. Yeah, I really do recommend you check out the pistorm. It's definitely come on leaps and bounds. But I would really just avoid these cases at all costs. At all mega high costs. Yeah. So we've got some YouTube retro repairers and a little group we're in, and they're going to be listed in the description. Head over there and check them out. We have a live stream at the end of each month, and it rotates between us who's going to host it. So have a look at that, because that's just a bunch of old people talking shit for an hour and a half. That's usually quite fun. Yeah. So thanks for watching this video. Hopefully it's been less painful for you as it has been for me. And I'll catch you on the next one.